world has so much more magic in it when you're young. Nothing has really been explained to you yet, and you don't have cold hard science to both enlighten and terrify you. Take the concept of the monster in the closet. As scary as it is at the time, there's also something magical and kind of fun about it. Remember those times you and your friends would dare each other to watch a scary movie at a sleepover, and then you'd spend the rest of the night jumping at every shadow and sudden sound? Then the morning would come and you would feel safe. The moment it started getting light outside, there was a feeling of accomplishment to it. You and your friends could feel like you survived some harrowing ordeal and laugh about it later over breakfast. Unfortunately, sometimes the sun doesn't rise. The accomplishment isn't there and you never truly feel safe again. Such is the case with Timothy Loeb and the Secret Playground. Let me bring you back to Glenridge Elementary School in 2004. Every school has its urban legends which are passed down from class to class. The one that has maintained throughout the years in Glenridge is the Secret Playground. It's a dumb little story about a giant playground that was left abandoned in the woods near the school when the town relocated the building in the 30s. When I was in school, it was a thing kids would brag about seeing and visiting to sound cool. Obviously, no one had ever been there, but there were kids that spoke about it with such awe that made you want to believe that somewhere out there in the endless sea of pines, there was this colossal jungle gym structure. No one wanted to find it more than one Timothy Kyle Loeb. It was a crisp fall morning the first time he heard about it. During morning recess, a time period in which the teachers scrambled to finish their coffee and get ready for the oncoming flood of bright-eyed students, Timothy Loeb awkwardly stood in the field, bragging to myself, Devin, and a girl named Jessie Hamill about his newest Beyblade. The Beyblade trend had come and gone already, and it was partially Timothy's fault. He was your standard Weasley rich kid. Completely socially oblivious, emotionally immature even for a boy his age. I know that sounds judgmental, but even for a 9-year-old, he was incredibly obnoxious when he was upset, or excited, or talking, or breathing. When you're a kid, you get a sense for these things in a weird way. You can always tell whose parents had money and whose didn't. Timothy's parents definitely had money, and he let everybody know about it. I'm sure he didn't realize at the time that he would come off as braggadocious or rude, but that seems to be one of the senses a lot of kids don't have, a deep understanding of empathy. Timothy rattled on for a few minutes, displaying the spinning top until Jessie spoke up. "What's the point of showing it off if you're just going to tell a teacher when you lose?" Timothy studied her face for a few seconds and then struck a pose that he absolutely saw a cartoon character do. With the top in one hand extended and the peace sign over his right eye, he loudly proclaimed, "With this Beyblade, I can never lose! Ha! Yeah! I'm gonna win tournaments!" I think this was the first time any of us had been exposed to what would later be known as secondhand cringe. He awkwardly stood there in the same pose before dropping it and just staring at us, waiting for some form of validation that his parents more than likely gave him for everything he did. I sighed heavily. There aren't gonna be any tournaments, you moron. You got Beyblades banned, remember? You'll get in trouble if you keep flashing that thing around. He looked at me for a second and a smug grin crept across his face. "Well, if I'm the only kid with a Beyblade, that means I'm the champ already." He threw his hands out to the side and hunched his shoulders and did his best attempt at an evil villain laugh. The second-hand embarrassment intensified. "Okay, Dr. Doom. Take it to the Secret Playground. Maybe someone there will challenge you." Devin joked. We all laughed. Everybody except Timothy. He spoke with an intense curiosity. "What's the Secret Playground?" Jessie, Devin, and I shared a glance, a look that showed we were all thinking the same thing. "You don't know about this Secret Playground? We've all been there. It's really cool. It's a playground where the old schoolhouse used to be. It's huge. It's way better than the one we have here now." Show it to me, he demanded. Hold on, it doesn't work that way. The only way you can get there is by finding it yourself, otherwise it doesn't count, Jesse proclaimed. He stood there for a second. I could tell he really didn't believe us, but his curiosity was slowly getting the better of him. It sounds unbelievable, but you have to remember, this is a kid who got stuck upside down in the school's air vents because somebody told him there was an old lady in there who gave out candy. He was the kind of kid that hated being on the outs. He detested being out of the loop more than anything. He hated not having something to brag about. Okay, here's the rules, I added, to keep him on the hook and hopefully get him to leave us alone. You'll have to go right now. The teachers can't know that you're looking for it because you'll get in trouble if they find out. You have to go into the woods at the edge of the soccer field. Keep walking until you find the river. Cross it, and then you'll find a big open clearing. If you wait there until the end of the day, the path will open, and you'll find the secret playground. His eyes lit up in an almost animated way. I swear this kid was a living cartoon character. The years of homeschooling really did a number on him. A whistle blew somewhere in the sea of kids to signify that it was time to go inside. Go, go, go! I urged him. He panicked for a second and then took off like a shot. He sprinted towards the woods awkwardly while the teachers and peer mediators were wrangling the younger kids. At the time, I didn't know that as he crossed the tree line, that would be the last time anybody saw Timothy Loeb for 2 weeks and 3 days. Timothy sprinted as fast as his twiggy legs could carry him. With his heart pounding in his ears and his chest heaving, he felt like he was running a marathon. He couldn't get caught. He wouldn't get caught. The moment he broke the tree line, he imagined a crowd cheering for him. He slowed his pace a little to a light jog that just became a steady walk, now that he was far beyond the sight of any teachers. He already got made fun of enough. He didn't want to add not finding the secret playground to that list. It was a nice day. The sky was blue. The sun was still low, so he knew it would warm up a little bit. The guilt of doing something wrong quickly faded when the sounds of the school got further and further away. Soon they were replaced by the light crunching of leaves and the smell of old dry pine needles. The sound of mourning doves, chickadees, and crows. Timothy didn't go outside very often, but when he did, he would always retreat to the woods. It was the only place where he didn't have to try to be liked. He could pick up a branch and pretend it was a sword without anybody judging him. Why'd he even care if he got caught? No one at this stupid school likes him anyway. Not his teachers, and certainly not his classmates. The same tinge of sadness plucked at his heart anytime he was alone. He had come to the realization a long time ago that no one liked him. It was a hard realization for a kid to come to, but he somehow got there. His parents barely paid attention to him. His sisters treated him like the runt of the litter. Even the people he told others were his friends got sick of him. Deep down, he knew there was no secret playground. But still, there was a part of him that held out hope that he could return to the school triumphant, knowing that he found something cool. Something he knew none of the other kids had actually seen. He knew the school was moved to a new building. Everybody knew that. Logically, there had to be some remains of something out in the woods. Yeah, he was going to find the old schoolhouse. He was going to make it his clubhouse and only let the coolest people in. Arthur, Jesse, and Devin were going to be so jealous. He smiled at this thought. Ever since moving back to town, all he wanted was to be Arthur's friend again. Back in kindergarten, they were basically inseparable, or at least he thought. After Timothy had returned 3 years from out of state, his mind was blown to find out that Arthur started hanging out with a jerkbag like Devin staggered. He couldn't understand what Arthur saw in him. Devin was a mean bully. He was always picking on people. And then he knew how to act right in front of the teachers, and everyone thought he was so sweet. That's not the kind of person Timothy was. He was better than Devin in every way. Timothy seriously couldn't wrap his head around it. He was faster, he was stronger, he was better looking, and he wasn't a jerk. Once he found the old schoolhouse and set up his clubhouse, Arthur would see that he was the better friend.
If you're stronger than him, why do you let him pick on you?
A velveteen voice said, breaking the ambient silence of the forest. Timothy nearly jumped out of his skin. He whirled around frantically, looking for its source. His eyes scanned the environment around him, and for a brief second, it looked like a technicolored patchwork cloak wisped away behind a tree at the edge of the small pine grove he was standing in. "Hello?" Timothy called with his voice cracking. It sounded a little bit like a shriek. "Who's there?"
I'm just curious. If you're such a tough little boy, then why don't you just beat up this mean old Devin?
He rotated 180 degrees. The voice still sounded like it was coming from behind him. Timothy turned around again, and much to his surprise, he saw what had been speaking to him. An incredibly tall man sat on a downed pine tree, with his broom-handle-thin, grasshopper-like legs crossed over each other. The strange man wore a long coat that looked like it was made out of different patches. His spidery fingers curled over the head of his cane. His fingernails were either painted a dark gray or were just that dirty. His neck looked a couple inches too long and had a slight forward-leaning curve to it. Come to think of it, every part of this guy looked a couple inches too big. His eyes were buggy and the deepest blue that anyone had ever seen. His nose was long and straight, almost completely reminiscent of a crow's beak. His lips were incredibly thin and bright pink. They were curled into a coy smile. The man stood up. His bones sounded like an old tree cracking and rapping in a strong wind. He must have been at least 7 feet tall. Though almost all of him was rail thin, he had a bulging gut like a pregnant woman who decided to hold the baby in until it was at least a year old. He took a step towards Timothy, and in turn, Timothy took a step back. The strange man took another step forward, and then another. With each one, he would hike his knees up high and roll his footstep heel to toe. He moved like a claymation figure in an old Tim Burton movie. "I don't know you. Please leave me alone," Timothy said, with a slight tremble in his voice. "I was just leaving." The man cocked his head.
Come now, Mr. Loeb. Don't you want to build your clubhouse?
His voice changed pitch and tempo every other half a second, alternating smoothly in each transition. Even the echo of his voice in the clearing altered with every other word, even though they were in completely different tones. "How do you know my name?" Timothy asked.
Oh, don't you know? I'm Mr. Bonk. I know everyone's name. It's my job.
He said, drumming his spindly fingers over one another on the head of his cane.
I know your dad. I know your mom. I know each one of your sisters, cousins, and pets. I even know Arthur, and how lonely you are without him. All you want is your friend back. Or maybe just a friend in the first place. It's okay. We all feel lonely sometimes, Tim Tam.
Maybe this guy really does know my mom, Timothy thought. She was the only one who called him Tim Tam. He felt strange around the man, but he seemed so friendly. He seemed lonely too. Maybe they could be friends. He had to test him, to be sure. "Do you know where the secret playground is?" Mr. Bonk's face lit up. His wry smile turned into a full-blown Seussian grin.
Of course side too, my little cherub? My friends are there right now, and they would love to help with the clubhouse. Once it's done, we can go find Arthur, and we can make sure that jerkbag Durham never finds him again.
He walked over to the boy and put his hand on his shoulder finger by finger. With the other hand that was still holding the cane, he gestured towards the edge of the clearing, where the narrow path seemed to open up like magic. The forest looked brighter down the path. Bright was good. Bright was safe.
It's just real.
He ushered, as he gripped the boy's shoulder a little firmer than Timothy was comfortable with. He began to guide him down the wooded path as they left the clearing. The new trail closed behind them as the gossamer light that spilled into the dark grove slowly dissipated.